This morning we picked up anchor from the anchorage just close to Russell in very thick fog, and we motored down to Opua with the radar on, lights on, and by the time we got down to Opua the fog was clearing and we anchored off the marina. I put the dinghy in the water and went to shore and did all the clearance with the customs, and then came back to the boat, got the dinghy back on board again and got everything ready for sea, and then we motored up from Opua past Russell and then out towards Tiki Tiki Rock or Nine Pin Rock. And once we got past Nine Pin Rock, a little bit of a breeze set in. We were able to put the engine off and then get all the sail up and start on our journey. Sunset, the sun is going down, and looking back, New Zealand is starting to drop astern. We've got a nice breeze, we're sailing on about 5.5 knots at the moment, and everything's looking good for the night ahead. No surprises on the horizon, I hope. So I'm looking for a nice peaceful first night out to get settled into ocean mode. Right, sunrise on the first day out. We made it through the night okay. It got a little bit lumpy during the night. It was a bit of a cross sea, but nothing too bad. I put a reef in the main just before it got dark, and then I reefed in the Yankee a little bit, and she was nicely balanced and comfortable through the night. We did about 5.8, I think it was, average through the night, which is good. So everything's okay. We're just sort of changing now from coastal mode to ocean mode. It's always a little bit of a changeover. Things that haven't moved for a long time all decide they're going to move when you get out into the ocean. So some things need restowing and lashing down and moving around. A little bit of tidy up here and there. Ropes to get sorted out. But so far, it's very nice and the trip's going okay. Mickey's been steering very well through the night. Doesn't say a word, he just keeps on going. And if you look at the cloud behind the boat, you can see how well he's keeping on course. He does get knocked off occasionally by a wave, or if the wind gusts a little bit or changes, he'll obviously change with the wind. But with a steady wind like it is at the moment, he's pretty rock solid. The best crew member on board, really. Of course, nothing lasts forever. 1 minute you sail along beautifully, 5-6 knots, no problem at all, nice steady breeze. Then all of a sudden it just disappears and you're just left rolling around and wallowing on the sea with no wind. And that's the worst thing, I think, is when there's no wind, or there's just not enough wind to fill the sails and the sea's rocking and rolling you along. And the sails are flogging, well, that's just an awful feeling. And that's just what happens. I've rolled in the staysail, rolled in the Yankee. I've got the mainsail up to try and steady us a little bit and to try and catch any wind that's going. And we're just going to have to wait now for the wind to return, as it will do. So just have to try and be patient. All this rolling around with no wind seems to have had an adverse effect on Mickey the wind vane. There's 3 screws that hold the azimuth adjusting ring onto the wind vane shaft, and they seem to have come loose and enlarged the holes in the bronze casting, and they're stainless steel screws, so they're quite hard. So I dismantled everything and I've cleaned everything out and put new screws in, and the repair seems to be okay for now, so I'll just monitor it and see how it goes. What a difference a few hours makes. This is the view from my kitchen window. We've got some wind again. In fact, we've had a little bit too much wind, really. We had 25-30 knots. Just came up from nowhere. And now it's calming down a little bit, so we've got a nice 15-20 knots at the moment. I put triple reef in the main. We were just sailing with a triple reef and a staysail for a while. I've just got 2 reefs now in the main, the staysail and just a little bit of Yankee. And everything seems to be good at the moment. And I think the wind seems to be easing off, but at the moment it's not too bad. In fact, it's good. We're doing good speed. And the boat's okay, not overpowered, nicely balanced. And it's all good. Just a little bit bumpy now and again. This is turning out to be a funny old trip. One minute we've got great wind, and the next minute we've got no wind. Well, one day we've got great wind, and the next day we've got no wind. So we've just got a sunset now. The sun's going down and the moon's coming up. It's a full moon. We've been rolling around all day, going nowhere. The wind dropped off this morning very early, and it's been off all day long. It's supposed to be coming back at midnight, I hope. So in the meantime, we're just going to enjoy the nice moonlit night and hope for a little bit more wind later on. It's the 15th of June, and first time I've seen the flag fluttering for over a day. Last night we were in a little patch of ocean and there was something funny happening with the currents. I didn't feel very comfortable, so I motored for a couple of hours and found another little patch of ocean where it was flat calm. I turned off the engine at midnight and then had a really nice sleep until 6 o'clock this morning. And now the sunrise is coming. There's a little bit of breeze just springing up. It's the first time for a long time. It was absolutely flat calm last night. I left the mainsail up, lashed the helm, and went to sleep. I had a very nice sleep. So hopefully there's a bit of wind coming. It's not predicted to arrive until 3 o'clock this afternoon, but who knows, it may come early and we may be able to sail. Let's hope so. Well, we've got a little bit of wind again, which is great. Sailing along around about 5 knots, 5.5 knots. It's quite comfortable. So a little bit of a look down below. A little bit untidy, things being left out, which is just a symptom of not being too rough. The rougher it gets, the tidier it gets generally. There's a chart table with the chart on it, VHF radio above. There's the toilet with the rubbish bag in there. And then a little bit later on the evening I had a bird came to visit. I was just making a stew in the galley and this bird popped in. And he didn't want to leave the accommodation. I gave him some water. He seemed to be thankful for that. We often get birds coming on boats at sea, but unfortunately he didn't make it through the night. Oh, it's early morning. The sun's going to be shining in about 15-20 minutes, just below the horizon at the moment. We're running downwind, very light wind. I just pulled out the Yankee, just need to adjust it a little bit. Not really enough wind to fill them fully, keep flogging. And over here we've got the beginnings of another beautiful day. Paradise. Well, we've got just over 1,000 miles to go to Gladstone in Australia. And I've been thinking the last day or so about the wind vane, and I've just had a look at the weather ahead on the route, and we've got some fairly strong trade winds coming, 30-knot trade winds, which is okay, it's coming from the right direction, but I just don't really want to be in the stronger winds if the wind vane's not 100%. So I've decided to turn a little bit to the north and head up into New Caledonia. That's only 3 days away, and I will try and get the wind vane repaired, get some new screws put in, and then from New Caledonia head across to Gladstone. And it would break the trip up as well, so it's not too bad. Had a little bit stronger wind earlier on, and I reefed down. Of course, as soon as I reefed down, half an hour later the wind started abating, and it's been easing off ever since. So probably need to shake the reef out now. The speed's down from about 7 knots, 7.5, down to about 4.5, 5 at the moment. So we could do with a little bit more sail, but I was just giving it a bit more time to see if the wind was going to come back again. But still beautiful sailing, still a very, very nice day, and should be in New Caledonia in 3 days. I stuck the Q flag up, I was getting bored, and that can stay there until we arrive. Beautiful sailing. We've had a few little rain squalls, but the wind's not been too bad, maybe gusting up to about 30 knots occasionally, but generally around about 15 to 20. Had some rain, washed all the salt off the decks, which is absolutely great, and we're just romping along now, and rainbows are around. We've got about 50 miles to run now till we get to the pass to go through the reef up into New Caledonia. So I should be there late tonight, very early morning, and then I'm going to sail up and anchor somewhere and just wait for the customs and immigration to open in the morning and then get the clearance in the morning. But in the meantime, just enjoying this sailing, the last 50 miles, enjoying the wind, enjoying the rain showers, enjoying the rainbows, and thinking about a pot of gold.